What's up, folks? Welcome to Wasted Space, and welcome to my 5 tips for early game things you might miss in Defiance 2050. And this is a free-to-play title, third-person shooter, so if you fancy checking it out, there's a link down in the video description. Triumworld's kindly sponsored me to put together a few videos on it. And before we get started, if you get to the end of this video and think, well, that's cool, I know a load about the mechanics, but I want to see some gameplay now, decide if this is for me, I will have some gameplay videos coming real soon. But in the interim, there is a link in the video description over to Captain Shaq's channel. We were doing some co-op together, and he's got a couple of videos up from that, us messing around with Ark Falls, some sniper cover, cool stuff. So if you fancy checking that out, links down there. And now, let's get started. So, dynamic events. These are one of my favourite things in Defiance 2050. Random events that just pop up on the map and anybody nearby can come and join in as group chaos, group carnage to take on whatever the encounter happens to be. Now, there are a few different types of these. We've got swarms, like this one here, and you'll notice that there is a countdown timer on that. That's basically when that event's going to end. You have to get there before that to get any credit for being part of it. And it's well worth being credited for being part of it. And at these events, you'll get swarms of mutants, waves of mutants coming at you that you've got to destroy, steadily getting stronger and harder. But there's all sorts of different types. You also get hellbug swarms and various different versions of that. But on top of that, we also get these, the Ark Falls, which I think are actually even cooler. There are minor Ark Falls that look a little bit like this, and you also get major Ark Falls. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to show some other footage to show you what these look like, because there's none up on the map at the moment. But a whole area will get attacked by Ark Falls all at once, these meteors falling from the sky, and you collectively have to go and clear them all out, leading up to this big boss battle. Really, really good fun, but more importantly, really quite rewarding. Because not only do you get loot for taking part, and do hang around at the end once everything's finished, wait for that red bar at the top to disappear, because you'll get credited for loot at that point. Sometimes it takes a little while to pop up. But you can also get random loot dropping during the encounter, and you get to complete goals. And we need to talk about goals separately because they're super important and they tie into a whole bunch of other stuff I want to talk about. So finally, it's worth mentioning with these, don't be afraid to just go and join in. Even if it's quite high level for you, you'll see little skulls above the mob's HP bars that'll indicate that they're quite high level. You'll still have a good time, there'll be plenty of people around, you can join in a little bit, see how things are going, and at the end you'll still get rewarded for it. You'll still get some loot that scales to your level, and you'll still have had a good time. So keep an eye out on the map. It's a nice way of breaking up the questing a bit, and just jump into them if you see one nearby. That's all you got to do, is just walk up to it and you're part of it and you're involved. So let's talk about goals, because these things end up being really important and will actually tie into some of the other stuff I want to talk about. Because goals is where you get a lot of the unlockable stuff. It's where you're going to get access to things like clothing and vehicles and so on, and it might not expect it to be there. So if you hit escape and click the goals button, then it opens up this screen. You'll notice they're called pursuits in here. I think that might be a bit of a relic from the original Defiance. But as you can see, go through here, you'll probably be quite familiar with this. A lot of games do this, but a lot of games don't reward you quite like these do. So it's a series of different categories for like running around and driving around in vehicles, using different classes, fighting in different ways, just exploration. This is a fairly familiar system, but what's new about this one, or at least you might not expect it to be there, is that if we go, say, into the vehicles and click our runner license, if we complete this, it will actually unlock a new vehicle for us. And then we can get hold of that. This is also where you get to unlock cosmetics for your characters. So if I was to complete this one here, reach assault class level 25, I would get these cosmetics, and nice enough, it gives you a little sort of preview of what those are going to look like. And there's a whole bunch of stuff in here, all sorts of cool different looking gear, and some of the different vehicles that you can get your hands on. But there's a couple of other things in here that are also really important. You'll notice this icon there. That is ego experience. Ego being like an overall account level, now character level. It's separate from classes. Classes level up as well, but this one is to do with you as like a character, me as Wasted. And every time you complete one of these goals, you're going to get some of that. And this is one of the quickest ways to boost it. This and just doing missions is the quickest way to get your ego level up. And there's a bunch of stuff that's kind of locked behind ego level, like for example, some of the co-op maps. The other thing you get in here that's going to end up being really important for something else I'm going to talk about is, we just pick a random one, hopefully find one that's actually got it in, please. Oh, there we go. These are reputation commendations, and they are how we unlock a bunch of the other stuff. So let's go and talk about them and where you spend them. So in Defiance 2050, when you first kick off, you're creating your character. Unless you bought one of the packs, the Founders Packs or the Class Packs, you'll get to pick from one of 4 classes, and when you get in-game, the other ones are going to be locked off. We need to go and basically unlock them, and that's where these reputation commendations come in. It's not the only thing they're used for, but it's probably the first thing you're going to wonder how you do. So if we open up the map, I am down at the crater, and this is so far the only place I've found with one of these vendors, but it's also pretty close to where you start. So here's the Earth Republic camp, and you can just drive all the way around following the roads to get down here. This bit's pretty hairy. Me and Shaq had a bit of fun going through there because it's full of guys with rocket launchers, but you can get down here and find this vendor just here, the Commendation Quartermaster. Now, unfortunately, if you come here straight off the bat, you'll probably notice that this stuff's all really expensive, and you need to go and do some golds and so on first. Why those golds end up being really important. But once you get down here, as you can see, this is where you can unlock the different classes. 250 tokens for each one, and once you've done so, you'll be able to go into your class tree and actually switch between them on the fly. Now, there is a better way of switching between stuff. We'll talk about that in a moment. That's all to do with this loadout system. But you can unlock these things, level them independently. Each one goes up to level 50, completely separate to your ego level. And as you've got them, you can literally just select one. I've been playing the combat medic a little bit, hit equip, and I'm now a combat medic. And when I press my ability button, I now summon a little robot-y thing. Where you gone? There he is. And he heals people. That's pretty cool. The other thing these reputation commendations are good for, if we go back into the vendor, I'll talk about mod caches, mod kits, Carillium cores. They're all cool, wrapped up in one system. I'll talk about that in a moment. But you can also get a whole bunch of different vehicles. So this is where you're probably first going to get your hands on a car, but it's also where you can upgrade your quad bike. So now, let's have a little chat about what modding's all about. So while this enhanced weapon button is fairly obvious in the inventory, and I'm sure you guys have clicked it just like I did, I kind of overlooked this because I took one look at it and went, I don't really understand what's going on in here. All right, ignore it for the time being. And early game, this can make quite a big difference. It's not so complex as it seems. So we want to go and mod this weapon, and there's a few different ways we can do it using different materials. But the first thing we're going to need to do is actually get our hands on a mod. And the easiest, kind of quickest way of doing this is going to one of the supply vendors that are in all of the different sort of little camps and going in here, and you can see that there are little mod caches that don't cost very much script, and you can just pick it up for whatever it is that you want to be modding. So I'm going to grab an explosive mod cache because I'm going to mess around with a grenade launcher I've got. So let's buy that, and when you pick it up, it won't actually appear as a cache in your backpack, but down in the bottom left you can see it's just given me a mod. So now in my inventory, filtered by new, you can see we've got this explosive power barrel, and that's going to add plus 8.39 damage to anything I attach it to. So how do we go about modding weapons? Well, we need 2 different resources to get this done. First of all, let's go in and actually add that mod we just bought. So if I click on modify mods at the moment, you can see I can only modify the stock. If I click add mod, click on stock here, I don't have any. But I want to add that barrel I just got. You actually need to go and unlock the mod slots. So if I go back to here, double click on the unlock mod slot, this is where that Carillium comes in. Now you'll get this from goals, you'll get this from quests, and it's not very obvious what it does to begin with, but this is what's needed to actually open up slots on your weapons. So if I press yes now and upgrade it, you'll see that as I do that, it's now added an ammo slot. And then we can add a barrel slot. Finally got the one I want. Now I can add that mod into the barrel, and this isn't going to cost me anything, but once it's added, I'm not going to be able to remove it without spending more of the Carillium cores. So if I say I've got a really good mod, I want to get it back off again, it's going to cost me again to get it back off the weapon. But now we hit yes, and you can see that not only does it visibly change the weapon, so the barrel on the front of this is now much chunkier, but as we go back, we've got that plus 8.39 damage now. One other way we can modify weapons is by modifying their bonuses. So we've got different bonuses attributed to it, and we can actually go in and re-roll this stuff, for example. We're like, okay, I'm not happy with this reload. Let's go and try and reload that. And again, Carillium core and a bit of script will enable me to just change that to a completely different bonus. So here we go, we've got the old one, and I fancy, more blast radius. Nice. We've got full damage radius and blast radius, and we've changed that weapon up again. Now we can also spend these ranks. Now unfortunately, at the moment, I don't have any. You can see that there's a little naught next to there, the weapon is ranked naught of 10, so I can't upgrade this weapon using those. But this is how you'd go about beefing up an existing weapon in your inventory and making it something really cool. And I do like the fact that you can actually go in here and For example, make your weapon look really different. It's a shame I don't have all the bits I need to actually upgrade this weapon fully, but you kind of get the idea. So now we've worked out where to unlock the classes, how to make ourselves look really cool, get vehicles, mod our weapons so we can maybe make a different set of weapons for hellbugs and mutants, because I really would recommend that, by the way, and try and spread which ammo types you're using too, just to save problems with running out of ammo. It'll seem early game like you've got plenty. Trust me, that does not last. Now we need a way of switching between this stuff, nice and easy. So we can hit L to bring up the loadout screen. You guys probably already guessed where this is going. First things first, we've got an appearance button down the bottom. This is where you change how you look. It doesn't jump out, but it's where your titles are, it's where your different stuff is, and you can just double click on it to equip it. Nice and straightforward. And you can do that with any of the things in here. This is probably the easiest screen to just quickly change around what weapons you're using and so on, because you can just click on these boxes super fast, no sort of messing around going through the inventory. And you can do the same with your classes, your talents, everything in here. But of course, we've also got up the top number 2, so a second loadout, and you can unlock further, but for the time being we've got this one here, and this enables me to literally change up the entire setup I'm using. I can change class, weapons, vehicles, grenades, shields, the whole lot. So we can go in here and go, okay, I want my combat medic to be a bit more of a sniper setup, so let's give him a couple of sort of longer range weapons, let's make sure he's got the right shield, thermal grenade, sure, and yeah, we'll leave. You can even change your vehicles in here, so we'll leave the standard growler on, and then if we press escape, you'll see that that is the loadout I've got. This is my combat medic. I can get out my little robot. It's using my rubbishy jeep quad bike. But now all I've got to do is hit L, click 1, and if we click escape quick enough, you can actually see your character is actively changing his loadout, and bing, now we're done, and we're back to being my usual main class, leveled up. Everything done nice and quickly on the fly. And this can be used not only to just be a convenient way of switching between bits and bobs you've got, but also a way of, for example, suiting what you're doing to the situation. If I'm in an Ark fight, for example, I might want to switch class, or I might want to switch loadout to get more ammo. So like this is stood, I'm using pistol and grenade launcher ammo here, and all I've got to do is change my loadout, and now I'm using sniper and assault ammo instead. So if, say, this fight's going on for ages, I can very quickly get out another set of weapons that I actually have ammunition for. So a fairly simple system. Maybe you guys didn't overlook it, I certainly did. I certainly didn't realise quite how convenient this screen was. It's not groundbreaking, but it makes things a lot easier, especially when it comes to switching between different setups. So there's kind of my early game tips for the sort of questions I had when I first started. Where can I find this? How do I do this? And eventually I figured some of this stuff out, and I thought, hey, maybe it would help you guys out if you're starting off in this game to know where some of these bits and bobs are and not just be left wondering. I'll be coming back real soon with a video with some actual gameplay footage in it, but remember, if you fancy checking out some now, there's that link in the description over to Shaq's channel where we were doing some co-op together in the game, doing some Ark falls and so on. And I hope you found this video maybe vaguely helpful, maybe vaguely interesting. If you did, hit that like button for me, it really helps me in the channel out. If you didn't, dislike button's right next door. And otherwise, thanks a lot for watching, folks. I'll catch you for the next one.